Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Buckinghamshire Financial Insecurity Partnership #BackOnTrack event. We're delighted to be joined by a huge range of partner organisations this morning to give people living in Buckinghamshire all the advice and information they might need during these difficult times. You can see from the slide, we've got Heart of Bucks, we've got Vale of Aylesbury, we're joined by Wickermind, we're going to have Money Tips represented here today, One Can Trust, Helping Hands, Step Change, Career Springboard, Paradigm, Oasis Partnership, Citizens Advice, and many, many more. So there's a jam-packed agenda for today, and I'm going to be your host, guiding you through all of the different speakers. My name's Sophie Phillips, and I'm Head of Resident and Community Engagement at Red Kite Community Housing. And we're joined by Resource, who are an event management company who are kindly facilitating all of the technology in the background today to make sure that the platform runs as smoothly as possible. So you might hear myself and other speakers asking Sophia or Kate to move on to the next slide. So I'm ready for my next slide, please, Sophia. So welcome. If you've not used AirMeet before, welcome to this platform. It's going to run like a virtual conference. It's going to run from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. and we're going to have 3 breaks throughout the day to give you guys a chance to stock up on drinks and to have a little bit of a break to process all of the information that we're going to be giving out. We're also hoping to be joined by Helping Hands to help you with any one-to-one queries you might have. And how you'll access that support is you'll see when we're out of the live presenting mode, which we're in at the moment, during the breaks, you'll see that there are tables you can join and there will be a Helping Hands table. And somebody will be sat on that table and you can take to them any personal queries you might have about your finances, because we know that there might be some questions that you might not feel comfortable asking in the main event. If you want to ask questions to speakers, hopefully you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen that there is a chat bar. And in that chat bar, you can put questions into the event feed. And what I'll do is at the end of each presentation, if we've got a little bit of time, I'll pick up those questions and pop them to the presenter so they can answer your question. In the event that we have more questions than we have time to answer, please don't worry. We'll be able to use your email address to send a dedicated response back to you in relation to your question. And then I'm ready for my next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so #BackOnTrack. What is this event all about? We know that times are tough and we are all feeling the pressure. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought pressure into all of our lives. The rising costs of living, whether that's food, whether that's fuel, whether that's energy bills, we know that particularly the last few months, have been incredibly stressful for many of us. And the Buckinghamshire Financial Insecurity Partnership are keen to make sure that we are doing everything we can in Buckinghamshire to alleviate the pressures that people might be feeling. The fundamental wish for today is to make sure that people know where to turn for advice and support so that nobody is suffering alone. This event's been organised in a very quick turnaround time, and we're so grateful to everybody who's joined us to make this possible. We know that December's a really busy month for people for lots of different reasons. People may be at work whilst this event is running, and that's why we're going to be recording the content today and sharing it across our platforms, social media, websites. All of the partner organisations will be doing the same to make sure that throughout the winter period, people who weren't able to join us today can access this event. And I'm ready for my next slide, please. Thank you. So here at Red Kite, we are committed to realising potential. We are really, really pleased to be celebrating the dedication of so many Buckinghamshire-based organisations that have come together to help us to deliver this event today. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, organisations in Buckinghamshire are working more closely together than ever before to make sure that people get the support that they need. And today is all about providing hope and practical support. So I mentioned previously that my role with Red Kite is Head of Resident Community Engagement. So I'm going to take my host hat off just for the next sort of 5-10 minutes and just tell you a little bit more specifically about Red Kite and how we might be able to help you if you're a Red Kite resident or if you're somebody who lives in one of our communities. So how could Red Kite help me or someone that I know? Well, Red Kite actually offer grant funding for courses, for qualifications, and even for business startup. We run a pop-up business school once a year, and the next one's going to be held in March 2022. We also have financial and support advice available from our dedicated in-house wellbeing team. And this is a support service that's available to any of our Red Kite tenants. We also deliver an annual programme of events and engagement. This includes a job fair, which some of you attending today may have attended before. And it also includes other events such as neighbourhood awards, which celebrates the fantastic achievements of our communities. So Red Kite are delivering lots of exciting activities in the community, and there's lots of different ways that we can offer support. I'm always very conscious that when we talk about grant funding, that for most people, there's an instant reaction, which is, well, oh, that probably wouldn't be accessible to me, or that wouldn't be applicable for the thing that I want to do. So I always think it's helpful to share a real life example of how we helped somebody to bring it to life. So I'm really pleased to be able to share the example of Jordan. Jordan joined the Red Kite Youth Forum in 2021 following our virtual Better Futures event. Red Kite funding paid for him to undertake a gadget repair course, and staff in Red Kite were able to identify a local company called Gadget Rehab for him to undertake a work placement to sort of support the learning he was doing on his course. Jordan absolutely smashed his course. He achieved a really high level of he achieved a really high score on his course, and that we were absolutely delighted to see that at the end of the qualification, he was actually offered employment. I think this is a great example to show that it doesn't have to be a specific course that you might have heard of before. If it's something that you want to do and it's something that helps you to get your career on track, Red Kite can help. So I wanted to talk a bit more about how Red Kite might be able to help you or someone that you know. So I mentioned earlier that we've got a dedicated in-house financial wellbeing team, and those wellbeing specialists are happy to help you with a range of different problems that you might be facing. This could include debt problems. We are also able to introduce you to agencies that can offer you free help and support, because we recognise that sometimes it might be another agency in Buckinghamshire that is able to give you the best support. We can also offer help with setting up a bank account, and also help if you are struggling to pay your rent. The key message that I really want to give today is that we do not want people to be struggling alone. We know that times are tough. We know that things are hard right now. And the key thing here is to reach out for support at the earliest possible opportunity. So I've mentioned a few different options for support at Red Kite, and I just wanted to give some contact details. So if anybody listening to this content is interested in finding out more, they know where to go. So to access the wellbeing team, so that's perfect if you're struggling to make ends meet, or if you're a little bit worried about how you're going to be able to pay your rent, or if you're worried about benefits, or if you have any other queries to do with finances, that's the team to speak to. I've included the phone number there as well as the email address, which is wellbeing@redkitehousing.org.uk. If you're interested in the funding opportunities, so if the case study about Jordan has inspired you, if there's a career or a course that you're looking to pursue and you need a little bit of support to get going, we'd really encourage you to get in touch with the community engagement team. And the way to contact us is to email volunteering@redkitehousing.org.uk, or you can give us a call on 01494 476 100. It's worth saying that the community engagement team also offer lots of different volunteering opportunities. So as well as supporting you with your career development, if there's any volunteering and giving back that you'd like to do, we'd also really love to hear from you. So I'm going to take my Red Kite hat off and my host hat back on. So talking about the hashtag Back on Track event, what are we going to be covering in our jam-packed agenda today? So as I mentioned at the start, we've got a huge range of partner organisations delivering fantastic practical advice and support to help everybody in Buckinghamshire to know where to turn if they need some help. We're going to specifically be talking about finances. That's going to include debt, that's going to include benefits, that's going to include top tips for how to make your money go further. We're also going to be giving advice on food, so people who might be struggling to afford to purchase food at the moment. We're also going to have a session around how to ensure that you're eating for wellness. We've also got sections on employment and career. We've got some fantastic speakers giving top tips on how to navigate difficult issues, such as if you're looking for employment and you're finding that hard right now, we've got all of the advice that you will need. I'm really delighted to say that we've got 2 keynote speakers. We've got a keynote speaker for the morning and a keynote speaker for the afternoon. This morning, it will be Neil Doig, who is the founder of Money Tips and the author of Millennial Money Mindset. Neil's going to be joining us to talk through lots of top tips and, crucially, how to make sure this Christmas that we spend with our mind and not our heart. This afternoon, the keynote speaker is Julia Wassel from Wickermind, and she's going to be talking to us about how we can build resilience and how we can keep a healthy mind despite the challenges of the times that we find ourselves facing at the moment. So as you can see, we've got a packed agenda. We've got lots of fantastic speakers joining us today. If everybody's ready, I think we're ready to begin. So I'm delighted to bring to the stage Neil Doig. He's the founder of Money Tips. He's the author of Millennial Money Mindset, and he's going to be talking to us about how to spend with our mind and not our heart this Christmas. Neil, welcome to the stage.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. I just realized I've got to turn on my camera. There we go. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Perfect, Neil. I'm going to take myself off the stage now and hand over to you.
Okay, thanks so much. So back on track. We're gonna give you top tips on how to improve your finances. So I'm just mindful of your time, so stay right until the end because you're going to give away loads of tips. I was just wondering to the speaker, can I have the slides up? There we go. Thanks so much. So we're going to talk about spend with your head, not with your heart. So stay right to the end because we're going to give loads of practical tips that you can use with your everyday life. So next slide, please. So before we start, I'm going to give a gift for everyone today. And so to make it as practical as possible. So if you want a gift, I'm going to give a free training course on how to automate your finances to give yourself more me time. So take down the email address there, neildoig@moneytips.co.uk, or alternatively, you can go to my website, www.moneytips.co.uk, and money tips is spelled with two P's. So just send me a message and I'll send you some free training. And give yourself the gift of being present today. So if you're on, please turn off any phones or turn off any notifications or any other messages that might pop up. Because today there's so many good speakers and you want to take as much as possible. So yeah, just if you've got 25 minutes and focus on it, because I'm going to give some knowledge that's going to potentially could improve your life. So next slide, please. My first vivid memory of money was I was on the floor swimming in pound coins. It was the height of the 1990s recession and I was 8 years old. I realized that it was tough times. People were losing their jobs. The economy was in terrible situations and the stock market had crashed. And I was on the floor swimming like Scrooge McDuck from the Disney film with pound coins. And this just proved to me, or instilled in me, that you can make money in any market. There is money all around us and we just have to think differently and how to spend with our heads and not our hearts. And I'm going to give away some tips right to the end, so stay right with me. So rolling on the floor of these pound coins, I had just volunteered for a jumble sale. And what we'd done, we'd gone out and collected old toys, old clothes and old games and from people's houses, and we put them into a jumble sale and we sold these to raise money for a scout bus to take us for our summer camp. And essentially it was one of my biggest lessons in business because I learned that it's all about giving value to other people. Money is just about giving value to other people. And what we'd done, we'd collected unwanted food, unwanted clothes and sold it to other people that would use that for themselves. And this installed a big lesson to me that you can make any money in any market. So even if we're in tough times today, even if the economy is not as strong as it could be, there is ways to make money. And it was my first profit in business. So what I'd done, I'd bought some Nike Air Max trainers. These were the height of fashion at the time, and I was wanting these for ages. And what I'd done, I'd bought them. They were costing £20, but I'd paid, because they were secondhand, I managed to buy them for £10, and I sold them to my friend for £30, and I managed to make £20 profit. Holding that £20 in my hand, it was a realization that actually business is all about taking value and giving value to someone else, and taking someone from a low place, somebody like used trainers, and offering it to someone else and offering value. And that's all business is. Essentially, it's offering value to other people. And that was a real insight into me. My second vivid memory of money was my first week at university, and I'd already been in debt with student debt. And there was a thing called Freshers Week where you sign up to clubs and societies and teams. And there was credit card companies, there was corporations who wanted you to sign up to these for their credit cards and essentially get you further in debt. And I just had this the image in my head of my dad saying, make money, either you make money for yourself, or either work for money, or money's going to work for you. So either you can make money, either money's going to work for you, or you're going to work for money. So at that time, I refused to take those credit cards because I realized that actually getting into debt and realizing how much compound interest, and we're going to talk about that in the next slide, how bad that can be. And essentially, it can cause some downward spirals. And essentially, the message here is, if you can, don't get into debt, because that was one of my biggest vivid memories of money. My third and final story is when I started Money Tips. So my company's called Money Tips. I used to be a financial advisor, helping million pound clients, and I didn't feel right saving tax for rich people, helping rich people save more tax. I thought, how many school books could that provide? How many hospital beds could that provide? And how many library books could that provide? So I left my job as a financial advisor and started my own company called Money Tips. And we're different. We educate and empower you to make your own decisions with money. So we offer good quality education, and we educate and inspire. So I've got a book called Millennial Money Mindset. I've got a card game called Football Formation Asset Allocation, and it's managing your money around a football team. And we offer training as well, online training and in-person training. And we're going to give you some tips, and we're going to talk about compound interest on the next slide. So next slide, please. So my book was called Money Mindset, and essentially it's how money mindset is how you think and feel around money. And this is the most important thing about money. And there's a quote from a great thinker called William James, and he says, the greatest discovery of our generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitude. And essentially it's how, if you start thinking differently about money, then you can actually start impacting money as your life. So money is caused is a biggest problem, is the biggest cause of worry with people. So there's a lot of people struggling, there's a lot of people worrying, and there's a lot of people with high stress around money. So if you're in that same situation, you're not alone. There's a lot of people at the moment with these bad times, with coronavirus, with the recessions, and with many people going on furlough. There's a lot of people struggling today, and you're not alone. So it's the biggest cause of stress and worry today. And I'm here to help you, and there's a number of great speakers today that's also going to cover a lot of good topics. So stay right to the end. So what is money mindset? So why is it so important? It's how you think, feel, and act around your money. So just thinking differently can improve how you act around money. So we're all different with money. We all have our own relationships, and we all have our different stories and backgrounds around money. So money can be an emotional subject. So there's many people who are stressed and worried around money, and there's many people who are potentially money can cause anxiety, guilt, or worry. But just think, money is just a tool. It's just a tool to use it to be able to buy and sell things easily. So the ultimate aim, what I realized, is not about life is not about money. Money is there to give you the freedom to live the life of happiness and freedom that you can. So if you think about money differently, this book aims to change your mindset and how you think and feel around money. And we're going to give you some tips on how to do that. And one of the most powerful concepts is a concept called compound interest, which is on the next slide. So next slide, please. So as I said previously, either money works for you or you work for money. So compound interest, it sounds like a complicated idea. Maths was never my favorite subject at school, and maybe it's not for you. And the good thing about money, you don't need to know, maths is not that actually important about money. So I much preferred geography. I much preferred sports, playing football. I much preferred science. But this is compound interest is the single biggest mathematical calculation that you need to understand with money. And Albert Einstein said it the best. He said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. So if you understand it, you can earn it. And if you don't understand it, you end up paying it. And this is what I see today, and so many people not understanding this concept. So all it is it's how much you pay on a loan or a deposit. So if you take a loan, or if you borrow £100, you're going to pay interest on that £100. And what happens? It builds up like a snowball. Think of it like a snowball. A snowball starts off really small, and if you roll it in the snow, it builds up over time. And either that's going to work for you and you save that money, or you invest that money, or you lend that money to other people, and that money is going to grow for you, or it's going to work against you. If you borrow money like credit cards, that snowball is going to, and that money is going to build up over time, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's going to get more and more and more stressful. So you can lend money to people, or you can invest, you can save or invest your money. So this is going to be working for you. So this concept, this idea, this mathematical sum, or this mathematical calculation, is the single biggest important thing you need to understand about your money and your finances. And it's essentially how long it takes to double your money. So there's a really easy calculation called the rule of 72. And I go into much more detail in the training program that I'm offering for free. Just sign up today. It's called, and this rule of 72, essentially how quickly your money can double. So if you have £100 earning, say, 10% interest, I know that's in a bank, that's not, you're not going to get that in a bank these days, but if you potentially can invest that and get 10% interest. So if you have £100 earning 10% interest, the money you take to double is going to be 7.2 years. So 72 divided by that 10% interest is 7.2 years. And if you borrow that money, if you take out a credit card costing 10% interest rates, that money you owe is going to double over 7.2 years. So 72 divided by 10% interest rate, that money, that £100 is going to turn to £200 in 7.2 years. And that's going to mean you're going to have to pay back double that amount, which is kind of crazy. But we're going to cover essentially why credit cards are so bad for your long-term wealth. So next slide, please. So credit cards are damaging for your long-term wealth. So credit card companies are not your friend. These credit card companies are there to take your money. And once you understand that, it's going to really help you understand with your money. So the first time, as I used in that story, when I was at university and I turned down that credit card, that credit card loan is still one of my best decisions I've made financially. So some of my friends they took the credit cards and they went out and bought nice TVs, stereos, and it was good for a year or two. But then once that TV broke, or they had to buy the next one, they still had lumbered with this giant snowball of debt that they had to pay back. And it's gonna cause so much stress and worry around with your money. So don't buy on credit cards. If you can get into a disciplined habit of saving up, maybe that's just putting a pound coin in a jar every week, then that's going to reduce your stress and worry. If in today's age of mass consumption, we're bombarded by adverts advertising us to buy things we don't need. These credit card companies, these advertisers, they just want your money. They're not your friend. They want you to spend more money because that's going to mean more profits for their company, more profits for their shareholders, and more profits for their quarterly results. So in this age of mass consumption, you have to be disciplined to not to spend on things we don't need. And credit cards are a massive way to damage long-term wealth. There's a number of different buy now, pay later loan companies that are coming out, and they're really dangerous because they seem so easy. It's credit card companies are like smoking is like cigarettes for your health. It's really dangerous because it gets you into debt over the long term. It's not good for your long-term wealth. Credit card companies make billions of pounds of you buying more and more, consuming their products and meeting their quarterly profits. So using a credit card, it makes the transaction seem less real. And it seems like you're more like to spend more, getting you more into debt. So yeah, I urge you not, if you can, don't spend on credit cards, or consumer credit. But what you should be doing is spend with your head and not your heart. And the next slide, please. So the idea is to start saving, and saving every week or every month. This could be just a pound coin into a jar, or it could, if you can, you can do it automatically by saving up a direct debit, so it goes into a different savings account automatically. So if you imagine, if you work for just for the first hour, so you might think, Neil, it's so difficult to start saving, because when at the end of the month I have nothing left to save. But the secret is to save and pay yourself first. So you need to pay yourself before anyone else. So imagine you work at a job. That first hour of your time, that is for you to save money. That's for no one else. Don't pay that to your credit card companies. Don't pay that for your rent. Don't pay that for to buy consumer credit. That's just there to save up. So first hour of your day should be just to pay yourself. And this is going to give you a massive peace of mind when, after, in a month's time, in a year's time, in 5 years' time, you're going to have, if you do this and you don't spend it, you're going to have, it's going to build up over time. And just like that snowball example we use, it's going to build up over time, and it's going to become massive. That snowball is going to become massive, and it's going to give you massive peace of mind and reduce your stress and worries. So write down all your needs and wants. There's a difference between what we need and what we want. So needs are things we need to survive, like water, shelter, heating, food. And we need this to survive. And wants everything else. This is buying things that we don't necessarily need, things that we can do without, we can live without. So the real secret is to spend less than you earn, and then save or invest the difference. So spend less than you earn, and save and invest the difference. And I know it's easier said than done, but if you can crack this one thing, then life gets so much easier. So there's a quote from Charles Dickens, and he says, when your income is bigger than your expenses equals happiness. When your expenses are bigger than income equals pain. So the secret is to spend less than you earn, and then save the difference, and that will create happiness. And life is all about happiness. It's not about money. Money is not the right result. The result is happiness, having a better life, and having more experiences with your friends, your family, and your loved ones. So there's three choices. So either you can earn more, you can spend less, or you can do a bit of both. So how do you earn more? So you earn more by getting more experience, more education, or using your time to add value to people. So there's a number of different training programs you can do. You can get more education, have more experience. The more experience, the more value you can add for people, the more money you're going to get paid. The second one is spending less. I'm going to give you some tips later on, and it's in a few moments, to how you can use this to spend less, or you can do a bit of both. So so we're going to give you some tips. So on the next slide, please. So one of the biggest things how to increase how much money you earn over your lifetime is by setting goals. So there was a study done, and they worked out that if you set goals, the simple act of writing down your goals and heading towards that goal, you earn twice as much than someone who hasn't set those goals. So let me say that again. If you write down your goals, you're going to earn twice as much than if you didn't write those goals down. So I have goals at the end every year. I write down goals and head towards those goals. So I split my goals into three. I have my work goals, my rest goals, like my hobbies, and then my play goals, like my bucket list. So write down what you want from work. If you want to increase where you want to work, what's your ideal job, how much you want to earn from that job. Then your second one is your rest. What would you like to do as a hobby? So I started writing my book as a hobby. I just started thinking, actually, this could add a lot of value to people's lives. And I started writing as a hobby. I started my podcast, Millennial Money Mindset, as a hobby. I just started writing, so started publishing podcasts, speaking to people, and it started as a hobby, and now it's part of my business. And a third thing is play. What would you love to do? So life is for living. It's not always about spending and saving, or investing. So I know I talk a lot about spending less than you earn, and about resisting temptation, but life is for living. You need something to reward yourself for what you save. So write down your work goals, your rest goals, and your play goals. So if you go shopping, have a shopping list. It's the same as setting goals. So if you have a shopping list and stick to it. So know what you want from your shopping list. Start off writing a shopping list before you go. It may sound simple, but I've done it so many times where I've gone shopping and I've just bought loads of stuff, and I've got home and I was like, I didn't really want this. I didn't really need this. But as I said, corporations are real clever at that, the psychological and the mindset tricks they can play on us. So there's certain things they put, they're like the sweets at the end of the counter, that they're going to trick us into buying more things than we want, than we need. And by writing a shopping list down, it reduces this temptation to go off and spend things that we don't necessarily need. So the next money tip is use the 2-day rule. So the 2-day rule is, if you want to buy something, then wait 2 days before you actually purchase that thing. And so I use this all the time now, and it's saved me loads of money. So don't just buy things spontaneously. Have a discipline to wait 2 days, because it will calm down our emotions. When we get caught up in this kind of frenzy of advertising, and when we go shopping, buying this thing to make us feel good. So there are chemicals in our brain that get released when we buy things. When we buy things that we've been advertised to, it releases triggers in our mind and in our brain. That means we get rewarded. We get pleasure rewards in our brain when we buy things. So have a 2-day rule, and that means that you can wait 2 days before you're allowed to buy that thing. And then you realize, actually, do I need that thing? Can I afford that thing? And will I use that thing? So the next thing is, when you do go shopping, you can shop using own brands. So I do this all the time. If say, for instance, Weetabix, you can buy own brand Weetabix, and it's going to save you so much money. Weetabix is so much more expensive than the own brand version, and that saves you so much money. The advertisers advertise you to buy their own product, but actually it's a very similar product, and I barely notice a difference. Another thing is baked beans. If you're buying baked beans, Heinz baked beans are super expensive, or other brands are much more expensive. If you buy the supermarket brand, you can just add in a bit of salt and sugar and it tastes exactly the same. You don't really know the difference. So be mindful with your spending, not mindless. Shop with a purpose and fight that impulse. So the corporations are there to get your money. So don't go shopping hungry as well. So I've done that so many times. I go shopping hungry and I end up buying loads of stuff that I don't necessarily need and I don't necessarily want. Another thing is unsubscribe to email lists. So they're there to advertise to you. So if they're not adding value to you, if they're just promoting to you, unsubscribe, take it off there's a law that came out recently that they have to have a button that you unsubscribe to these lists. So take yourself off these lists, and it means they're going to stop selling to you. So the internet's amazing. You can sell unwanted gifts or goods on eBay, so or Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree or Vintage. There's the world of the internet is amazing today. You can, just like I did with those trainers, you can buy goods and then you can upsell them, and you can sell unwanted gifts on eBay. This is the how you make more money. You might have been asking when I said before, Neil, how do I make more money, or how do I earn more income? The world of the internet has never been easier to buy something on eBay or something on Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree, and then sell that on, add value to it, get a bit of paint and paint it up. So my partner's great at this. We bought a house recently, and we bought a sofa for £60 on secondhand. And rather than paying £500 for the same sofa, we saved so much money by just buying secondhand or buying pre-worn goods. So the other thing, I've got a baby on the way due this Saturday, which is exciting stuff. And with most of the stuff we've bought secondhand. We've had friends give us things. We've gone on eBay. We've bought things secondhand rather than going to the shops and buying new things. Like, the advertisers want you to do that, but you can buy a secondhand thing. There's no shame in buying secondhand things. There's no guilt in it. It's just as good as new, essentially, and you save so much more money. Just like I did with that my first story with those Nike Air Maxes. I could have bought them and worn them and used them myself, but I decided to buy them and upsell them, and that's when I made my first £20 in business. And the feeling I got from having that £20 in my hand and adding that value, it was amazing. So ask yourself, do you need it? Will you use it? Is it worth it? So can you afford it? And check if it's cheaper elsewhere. So next slide, please. So this Christmas, so think with your head, not with your heart. So this Christmas, think about creating experiences with your loved one, not buying things for presents. So maybe that might be, a walk with your partner, a nice date outside, maybe a massage with your partner, or with children are essentially go play football with your child. I have a child. I know it's so difficult when he has friends and advertisers. He's come with me with his Christmas list already, and essentially he's thinking. So he has so many lists on his Christmas, but they want you to spend time with your friends and family and your loved ones. It's not necessarily about buying more things. So your presence is your presence. So I thought that was a real good saying. I read that on the tube yesterday, and I thought that was really nice. So your presence is your presence. So spending time with your friends and family, it's not about buying things. It's not about buying more things. It's about spending more time with your friends and family. So another tip is don't be loyal with your mobile phones, energy provider, or insurance. You can change them every year. They tend to put your price up, and if you're loyal, if you stick with them, the cost of it goes up. Where if you shop around, actually you're going to save loads of money. You can haggle for deals. So there's no such thing as a fixed price. You can haggle for deals. You can ask for, can you get that off? Can you get something thrown in? Can you, is there any way to add value? So talking about credit cards, so pay off your expensive credit card debt first, like credit cards or consumer debt. And because think of that snowball, once you pay off that expensive debt, it's going to grow. Your expensive debt is going to grow much quicker as the kind of more high interest rates you pay. So resist temptation. Remember, corporations want your money. They're not your friend. They advertise you to spend more money. The next tip, spend less than you earn, means playing a great defense. So I've got a card game called Football Formation Asset Allocation, and it teaches you how to invest your money around a football theme. So think of it like scoring a goal. You're on a football pitch. Money, if you score a goal, money goes into your pocket. If you concede a goal, money goes out of your pocket. So it's about trying to build up that income and score more goals and reduce your expenses and try and concede less goals. So it's about building up that defense. Your defense is trying to reduce your expenses, trying to build up that solid defense so you're not going to spend money. And it's building up an attack, so you're going to increase your income. So maybe that's increase your more money at a job, getting better education, get more experience, or doing things as a side hustle on the side, trying to flip like things like on eBay or Facebook that we talked about. So the first £1,000 in saving is the hardest step to take. So once you get, and it may sound out of reach to many people, but once you get that £1,000 in saving, it's the hardest thing. And once you cross that barrier, everything starts to get easier. And it's a massive shift in mindset where you can actually have that savings. And so start creating a rainy day fund for emergencies. So bad things happen in life. So car brakes might break down. You might lose your job. There might be unexpected costs. So if you have a buffer that's there for emergencies, then you can dip into that for emergencies, and it's not going to kind of put you out of, it's not going to cause stress and worry to you because you've got that peace of mind that you've got that kind of buffer there to protect you for any bad times. So getting to that £1,000, try and make that. We do couch to 1K challenges. We do couch to 10K challenges. So or 10 couch to 20K challenges where we build up a savings habit and we try and start putting even a pound in a week or £1 a month. Just start building up that buffer. I pay my child pocket money, and it's amazing how much it builds up over time. He gets £1 a week, and he saved up £18 yesterday over 18 weeks, and he had the £18 in his hand. And it's amazing. Over time, it builds up. It seems like so difficult at the time, but starting small and thinking big is really powerful with money. So, and there's a big difference between impulse spending and value-based spending. So don't feel guilty about spending on things that matter, that truly matter. So life is for living, but spend on things that actually matter to you. Spend on things that are going to make a difference to your life. So happiness is wanting what you have, not having what you want. So as you said at the start, it's not about money. It's not about getting more money. It's about the goal of life is about happiness. And once you get that that buffer of savings, and where you're not stressing worry about money. This really adds where it's a weight off your mind when you can build up that savings. You're not in debt, and you're not on that downward spiral of debt, which is really damaging to long-term wealth.
So Neil, thank you so much. I'm so sorry. We've just run out of time, and
okay. So really quickly, if you want to follow me, go to I've got a website called moneytips.co.uk. Go on my podcast called Millennial Money Mindset. I've also got a book called Millennial Money Mindset, or I've got a YouTube channel called Millennial Money Mindset. So follow me on social media. So come to LinkedIn, Neil Doig at LinkedIn, or Money Tips, or ask me any questions and I will happy to answer them. So YouTube is a good resource, or podcast, or you can get my book Millennial Money Mindset on Amazon. It's £7. It'll be a great investment into yourself.
Thanks, Neil. Thank you so much. There's so many fantastic tips and bits of advice. There's been some great comments in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're going to have to move on to the next speaker, but that was such a great
thanks
session.
so much for the time. I got a bit carried away. Hopefully there was loads of tips there. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Neil. Wow, what a fantastic first presentation to kick off this Back on Track event. I've definitely been making lots of notes, and I've got some really great ideas from that, so thank you, Neil. I'm delighted now to hand over to Henry. Henry is joining us from Heart of Bucks, and he's going to be talking to us about grant funding, what is available and how to access it. So I'm going to hand over to you, Henry. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sophie, and to the team at Red Kite for putting this event together. It's really great to be here. My name's Henry Ormond. I'm the Chief Executive of Heart of Bucks, and we are the Community Foundation for Buckinghamshire. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about our work and also, as Sophie says, how to access our funding opportunities. So we are, sorry, could you skip to the next slide? So we are a registered charity, totally independent organisation, and we are primarily a grant-making organisation. So we give away money in its simplest terms. We deal with both sort of long-term strategic challenges and what people typically call philanthropy, but we also deal with charity and that sort of reactive, immediate need to give and to solve a problem. Community foundations are an American concept, and they reached the UK in about the 1970s, I think. They've been going in the States for about 100 years now. So it's a fairly well-formed idea. And ultimately, community foundations cover a defined geography. So in our case, it's Buckinghamshire. We're established solely for community benefit. So we exist for the benefit of the local area, our local area. And we're as I said, a totally independent organisation, and we really have Buckinghamshire, our place, as our focus for our work. We're built on what's called an endowment model, so we look to save. So thinking about some of the topics from the last presentation, we are, as an organisation, we very much have that in mind, and we try to put as much money as we can into restricted long-term investments that exist wholly for the benefit of the county. So we really are a saving organisation. There are 47 community foundations in the UK, and we are just one of them. But collectively, we are, between the 47 of us, the fourth largest endowed grant maker in the UK. So it's a pretty substantial network, and one that is really quite effective. So I encourage you to get involved and have a look at your local community foundation, particularly if it's us, of course. So in numbers, Heart of Bucks, we have about £9 million in our savings account, which is great news for Buckinghamshire, but we're always looking to grow that. We've given away about £10 million in grants and loans since we started in the year 2000, and 1.5 million of that was during the pandemic in 2021. Which was our largest ever year by quite some margin. Within that 1.5 million, we gave away almost £250,000 to individuals and households in Buckinghamshire directly into their bank account. And that was for the relief of hardship, the relief, crisis. So, for example, a family fleeing domestic violence, a mother and a child who, leave the family home with just the clothes on their back. We're able to step in and work with, the frontline workers, including in housing associations, to provide sort of emergency payments for food, sometimes for shelter, white goods, the sorts of things that you can't take with you when you leave a violent domestic situation. And I'm really pleased that we've been able to give such a lot of money to families in Buckinghamshire experiencing crisis. Our average grant is typically about £2,000, and we funded 693 projects in 2020-21. Next slide, please. So another way of thinking about our work is in a sort of a cycle approach. So starting in the top right, we raise money for charities and good causes, and that is typically with engaging with very wealthy people, businesses, to encourage them to give more of their resources to local communities, in Buckinghamshire. So we do a lot of our work is spent focusing on talking to people about why they should give more into Buckinghamshire, particularly locally focused. So we think it's extremely important that organisations are people and businesses are focusing their money locally and not necessarily giving it away. To some of the very big national charities. We think it's local giving is incredibly important, and having that local focus. The next one then is that we distribute grants. So this is not just a scattergun approach. We take a very careful and considered and measured approach to grant distribution, and because we want to ensure lasting impact. We want to ensure that our money is well used, and really makes a long-term difference. And that third and final part of the cycle is that we use our knowledge and our engagement with the local community on the ground and all of the partners and stakeholders that we work with to be a visible champion and collaborative champion for Buckinghamshire, the place. And that is really what I'm most passionate about, is making Buckinghamshire and its people and places, the best possible, the best that it can possibly be. Next slide, please. So where does our funding go? Well, looking at those 6 there on screen, I think you'll find that we pretty much fund anything: health and well-being, education, skills, the environment and climate change, public spaces, isolation and disadvantage, arts, culture and heritage, and building stronger communities, community cohesion. There is not much that we don't fund. And perhaps the easiest way to think about it is what we will not fund. So we won't fund not for-profit activity, so businesses, etc. We won't fund, and we won't fund organisations that exist solely for animal welfare purposes. So it's really about people and places. But I think that's a good sort of snapshot there of what we will fund. Next slide, please. So I wanted to spend a couple of minutes just talking about what I mean by a couple of terms. So philanthropy and charity are terms that you will hear interchangeably in the third sector. And I wanted to use the opportunity to focus on what we do locally, because you can apply philanthropy and charity both globally and locally. And I think it's important to think global, of course, but be local and act local. And when we talk about charity, we talk about perhaps being reactive, not necessarily solving a problem, but providing maybe a sticking plaster or an immediate response. So a good example is our crisis funds, where somebody is in a desperate situation and needs some money or some resources in order to alleviate themselves from that. And that's an incredibly important role in society, charity, and particularly at that local level, because we can utilize local knowledge to make a difference in people's lives. Flicking over to philanthropy, it's much more strategic in nature. So you're looking about taking a data-driven and partnership approach to try and solve problems, not just provide an immediate crisis response. And if we flick over to the next slide, I'll give you some examples of what I mean. So taking first those global quadrants, In the top left, you've got the earthquake in Haiti. Terrible natural disaster that required some immediate charitable effort, but there was no conversation about solving a problem. It's just a huge amount of resource was needed to help that country get back on its feet. In the top right, we're looking at Bill and Melinda Gates. So their charitable foundation puts a huge amount of resources into trying to solve problems in a strategic way. So trying to solve the problem of malaria in Africa, for example. Now that's a much more long-term approach to trying to deal with big global challenges. But where I really want to focus is in the bottom two quadrants. So in the bottom left is charity. In Buckinghamshire, it's a local food bank. Now, a food bank is not a solution to a problem. It provides hungry people with some food for a short period of time. It doesn't stop them being hungry in 1, 2, 3 years' time, but it is critical. You don't say to a hungry person, "I'm sorry, we're not going to help you. We're thinking about strategic long-term things." That doesn't help the hungry person. However, you do also need to think about solving the problem, and an organisation I'll highlight is Sustain and the Bucks Food Partnership. So keeping that theme of food, they are looking at providing sort of support, holistic support, wraparound support for the food system in Buckinghamshire, and looking to solve the problem of food poverty and nutritional poverty and all that sort of thing. So both of those are really important examples. There's no right or wrong, and I think that's just a way of illustrating the breadth of the work that we deal with, and why it's so important to think about both. Charity is incredibly important, but so is philanthropy. Next slide, please. So I wanted to spend just a minute or two just talking about what I see and what our organisation sees as some of these really topical local issues in Buckinghamshire. So where we need to be focusing our thoughts and our energy. So obviously the topic of today's conference, financial insecurity, really important. But things like protecting our environment, climate change, diversity, equity, inclusion, isolation and loneliness, particularly we've seen rising through COVID and some of the restrictions in place. Mental health, again, COVID has exacerbated that, and food security, as I've talked about, and of course young people who have perhaps been particularly disadvantaged by some of the challenges around COVID and are still experiencing it in schools and universities. Next slide, please. I think that's me done. So yeah, I'd encourage you all to check out our website, heartofbucks.org, follow us on social media, and of course if you need to contact our team about grants, you can do that by emailing grants@heartofbucks.org. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Henry. That was a really brilliant presentation. We did have a quick question. I can see that somebody's asked, is it possible to apply to these sorts of grants to get help with debts such as rent arrears? And I wondered if you wanted to add a quick response to that, Henry.
Absolutely. So there is slightly complicated. So we don't accept open applications from individuals in the local area. We do accept applications from frontline workers, so social workers, homelessness workers, citizens advice, for example. So there is a system where we will accept applications from those individuals, but we do not accept open applications because we're just not resourced. We're just not set up for it. We're a very small organisation.
Thanks, Henry. I can see as well that Helping Hands have responded to the person who's asked that question, which is great. So Henry, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Fabulous. Okay, we've had such a jam-packed session this morning. We have run up to the break, and I think we're going to be able to step away for 2 minutes to just grab a quick drink, and then we're going to jump straight back in with a presentation from Jill Harding. Hello, that was a quick break, but hopefully you've had a chance to grab a quick drink, because we're going to jump straight back in with some fantastic content, all focused around finances. So I'm delighted to introduce the first speaker for this section. It's Jill Harding, joining us from Buckinghamshire County Council. She's going to be talking about partnership working and the support that's available for residents living in Buckinghamshire. Welcome, Jill.
Hi there. Thanks, Sophie.
I'm going to hand over to you, Jill. You're ready to go.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So yeah, I think what sort of the main sort of thrust of sort of my presentation is hopefully, I guess, two elements. One is to sort of explain and show just how we are all as organisations across Bucks working together to the benefit of our residents. But then secondly, to pick up a particular grant funding that we have received from government to assist sort of residents during the challenging months ahead. So really important to sort of be able to share that with you. So if you go to the next slide. So I think, as everybody said this morning, and everybody only really needs to open the newspaper or listen to the news, we know there's sort of challenging times at the moment and arguably more challenging times ahead. So what we're trying to do collectively, so the Bucks Authority working across the different organisations as part of the Financial Insecurity Partnership, really just trying to get a good understanding of the different challenges that people are facing and how perhaps we can sort of assist and help with those sort of residents that are in I always call it a pickle, but are in a pickle currently, to try and, a bit like as Henry said, look at what the sort of short-term support could be, but then sort of looking at what we may be able to do that's more sustainable. I think one of the things we've picked up in a number of the discussions that we've had, both with residents and also with other organisations, is that it can become really quite difficult in terms of sort of understanding. Oh, I do apologise. I've just realised I didn't put my camera on. Very sorry. But we realise that when people are sort of facing challenges, the biggest difficulty sometimes is knowing where you can go to get the help and support. It all feels quite confusing, and can I go here for that or here for this? So I think what we're trying to do collectively across the organisations, it's this sort of message of there's no wrong front door. So we're trying to make sure across the organisations that we're all aware of the help and support that we offer, so whichever organisation somebody reaches out to, we can then work together to ensure that the most appropriate support is provided. I think I've just touched on this as well, that sort of the pandemic continues really, and certainly the after effects of it continue, but we're very aware that the immediacy, the short-term measures that are being put in place, a bit like Henry mentioned about sort of the food banks, we then really need to work collectively and understand from residents what maybe we need to do to sort of try and make the situation more sustainable in the medium and the longer term. Next one, please. So what we've been doing as a group of organisations within, as part of this partnership, is we've been trying to look at how we can almost go out there and understand at a local level what is the different sort of challenges that are being faced, but also what are the different avenues of support that is already there. So we've sort of termed it a pilot. We've been working in Wickham, and what we've sort of come up with, I guess, is sort of 5 themes or 5 key areas from speaking both with residents and organisations that are engaging with residents on a regular basis. And as you'll see on the slide, I think I've touched on the first one. It's really important to ensure that people can access easily the help and support that is actually there for them. And at the moment, we're very aware there's a lot of confusing, not messages, but you don't really know where to turn, and that's not right. We need to make sure that people know clearly where they can go. So we've been doing a lot of work around sort of updating websites, providing leaflets with some easy, quick information showing people where they could go for the particular themes of support that they might need. We all know the challenges that are being faced by people around sort of food access, both access to food, but also access to nutritional food. And we're working with colleagues within the Bucks Food Partnership to understand what that might look like, but also looking at the organisations that are providing that support to then try and see how we can make that work better for our residents. There's a number of sort of presentations today that are around this whole debt management and advice piece. So when people do get to that stage, they really need some additional help and support. It's, where can they go to get that? And I think the biggest message really is trying to ensure that people can reach out as early as possible before they get into sort of a significant challenge. You know, that the early support is easier both for the resident and actually sort of is better in terms of delivering better outcomes. We all know there is a number of different benefits that are available to sort of residents, and it's about trying to make sure that people know what those benefits are and how they can gain access to them. And, you know, you could see this from two sides, but, you know, I was not pleased to see the numbers increase, but as a lot of promotion, we're aware now that a lot more families are now accessing free school meal support that they weren't actually accessing last year. And I'm hopeful that that isn't just because of an increase in need, but it's also because more people are aware of it too. Going back to the sustainable piece, we're really aware that it's so important for lots of different reasons, both financial sort of stability, but also around mental health and well-being and emotional health and well-being. It's important to help people get back into employment if sadly they've sort of lost their jobs either recently or for a little while. And it's working with the different organisations to assist people back into work and giving them the help and support to enable them to do that. And I know there is actually a presentation later on today. We do have this peculiar situation where employers are crying out for staff, and we have people who are really looking for work. So there's something in the middle that isn't quite working right, and we're working hard to understand what that is and try and unlock it. I mentioned we started in Wickham, and we're then hopefully soon rolling out into both Aylesbury and Chesham. And this is all within the broader Buckinghamshire-wide umbrella of activity. So hopefully you'll start to see a lot more sort of information being sort of cascaded through a number of different routes so that people can see what is going on and where they can get their support. Next one, please. This is just a sort of a bit of an example, really, so that when you see it, you understand where it's linked to, because we do know it's quite challenging at times if people can trust the information that is coming out to them. So we've pulled together sort of leaflets, sort of flyers, and also really updated the website that people can go to that provides that sort of information and support or visibility of the support that is available, which hopefully then should mean that people can access it a lot easier. Next one, please. So I think my last sort of statement really in terms of the sort of previous slides that I've touched on, and I think it was touched on by a couple of the speakers before, the organisations now, the VCS sector, incredibly strong within Bucks, and also sort of other organisations like the housing associations, we're now all coming together. You know, we never used to do it on purpose, but there could have been times where there was quite a lot of individual thinking, individual activity. We're now trying to sort of pull all of that together and pull the best of everything together to try and make sure that, you know, as I say, this help and support is there for residents when they require it. One of the elements that the authority specifically has responsibility for, as you may have seen, sort of late September, I believe it was, there was an announcement that government were investing over £500 million into this household support fund. And this fund has then been distributed through local authorities, and for local authorities then to work with their local VCS sector, understand sort of the needs of their sort of their community area, to see how we can best utilize this money to provide support to those that require it. And we're doing quite a bit of work to try and understand how we can best get that money out to residents, and we're using sort of a variety of different measures. It has to 50% of it. And sorry, I forgot to mention, it's 2.4 million that we've actually received for Buckinghamshire. And this is sort of significant funding and builds upon the funding we've already had to date. And some of you may have heard around the winter grant funding that we've received previously. So a significant amount of money. It has to all be spent by the end of March, which is why we're looking to see how we can get it out to those that need it most over these challenging months, but make sure that the money is used effectively as well for our residents. Next one, please. So I'm not going to go through the particulars in this slide, except to say the spectrum of those that are eligible for this support is quite significant. And in all honesty, when people sort of reach out for this support, we will obviously explore whether this fund can help them or whether there is other sort of resources and other organisations that can help them. So really, I almost don't want anybody thinking, oh, am I eligible? Am I not eligible? The most important thing is, if you need help and support, is then to reach out, and then it's for the organisations to work together to understand how that support can be provided. And I think it's really important to indicate it isn't just those on universal credit or on any kind of benefit that is able to access some of this support. We're very aware that, you know, for lots of different reasons, those people that are either on low pay income or what have you still need that support from us. They may have just lost their job and they just need that additional support. So it's really important that people don't just think, oh, I've seen that money, I'm not going to apply for it because I don't think I'm going to be eligible for any of the support it can provide to me. Next one. So we've touched on this a couple of times, and I know there's a table, a helping hand table within the event that people can go to. The helping hand service evolved from sort of the reactionary work that was needed as a result of the pandemic, and hopefully a lot of you will start to see the different leaflets that are coming out. The service is there really as a bit of a front door into the local authority and enables the sort of the team to discuss sort of the sort of the challenges, the requests that residents have, and then either to provide that support directly themselves, whether it's help with food or doing a food bank referral, or a little bit, as Henry mentioned earlier, we have been able to provide funds into Heart of Bucks, and they will administer some more of the grants that where people have got more complex circumstances, so therefore they need to go through a slightly different process. But the most important thing is people do reach out and do ask for help. We do have the information sort of on here and on a later slide around contact details, just to flag that when people do go online, there is a form for people to fill in, and people might look at it and think, oh, they can't be bothered. Please don't be turned off by the form. The reason it's there is to get as much information as we can to be able to help in the best way that we can. But if the form is challenging, then just pick up the phone and we will then be able to assist you. I think, as you can see here, there's a variety of things that we can provide help with. Next one quickly, please, if that's okay. So really just to flag, we are now, with the help of the Household Support Fund, we're now able to continue to offer the sort of food voucher scheme that we've done before during the school holidays, and digital vouchers will be being distributed through schools for those that are on free school meals or those that are in early years settings with additional help, who require additional help. And that will be £30 vouchers that will be going out for the Christmas holidays, and we'll be looking to do something similar during the half-term holidays and the Easter holidays. And I think the last one is just about the contact details. Oh, no, I do apologise, Sophie. Give me one quick second. So the Bucks Online directory, I just wanted to sort of flag this, really. I know previously it's been a bit challenging to be able to easy access and navigate. However, there's been some updates that have been provided, and there is some fantastic community organisations that are on there. So a big sort of plea from me, if you go in, sort of just put your postcode in and see what's local to you. I think you'll be really surprised in terms of the help and support that's there. And then the last one is, I think, sort of the contact details. So thank you. Hopefully that has sort of been of use to you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Jill. There are a couple of questions in the chat, but we'll come back to the person who's posted them after the event, because we are just running a little bit out of time. Thank you so much, Jill. Fantastic. We're going to move quickly on to our next speaker, who is Craig Glynn, joining us from the Citizens Advice Bureau, the CAB. They're going to be talking to us about money matters, debt advice and funding. So Craig, can I welcome you onto stage, please?
Let me just get my camera on. There we go.
Good morning, Craig. I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks very much. So my name's Craig. I'm from the Citizens Advice in Bucks. You may know us sort of previously as Citizens Advice Aylesbury Vale, Citizens Advice Wickham, and Citizens Advice Chiltern. We sort of recently merged in April of this year. But we're still providing the same service across the county as we always have, just so you know where we're coming from there. If I could have the next slide, please. So our organisation provides debt advice amongst many other sort of areas of advice, which we call our generalist service. As sort of Jill and I believe Henry as well have mentioned previously, one of the things that is troubling for a lot of people in the community is how to access services. So on the idea of keeping the door as open as possible, we have a range of methods by which you can contact us, which I've put on the slide here, so please do get in touch. Our advice line is the most popular, so it does often have long queues, but it's something that we're trying to work on there. So what we like to do with our clients, it's in our philosophy as an organisation, is to explore holistically the issues that are presenting. Obviously, working with the Financial Insecurity Partnership, we've had a keen focus on steering our debt services towards the local community, but we do pick up the other issues that sort of lurk around in the background, because as we know, these issues don't exist in isolation. They tie in with the things like food insecurity and fixed low incomes, which can be problems that come from benefits or work, or a combination of both in quite a few cases. Our email referral form is probably our newest venture, which you can get onto from our website. We'll aim to turn around a response within 5 days and take action where we need to in terms of what kind of appointment might best serve your need. If I could have the next slide, please. So, as I say, emergency needs, food, energy, these are a big part of what we do, but the exploration of issues beyond the presenting is what I've just covered in the previous slide. So there's just an idea of the range of issues that we can talk about with you and give you advice on to help progress. Now, when it comes to debt, obviously that low fixed income, often money not going far enough by the end of the month, we've got the food angle. So we use, in partnership with Trussell Trust, One Can Trust, the local council as well, with their various schemes, and various food voucher organisations that are independent. We use our links with them in order to get help to individuals where we can. And again, with the schemes that come through partly from the council, but from other independent organisations, where it comes to fuel vouchers, particularly for this time of year, we're quite keen on issuing them as soon as we find out that someone is eligible, because as easy as we can make that for them, it means we can move to resolving the debts as quickly as possible. So this sort of all-encompassing view is what we're looking at in order to try and progress our clients. I think I was really impressed to hear the previous comments about an explanation around what charity long-term and short-term can do. So these are obviously the short-term interventions that allow people in the community to focus on long-term resolution, which we would obviously be looking to help them with. If I could have the next slide. So specifically around debt, because we're talking about financial insecurity here, it's key to note at the top there, assistance with personal debt. I'll come on to what happens with business debt a little bit later, but just to give you a flavour of the kind of things that can be provided from our service, as well as a couple of others, is what we like to call an initial debt assessment, where we take account of everything, income and outgoing, that's going on in the individual's life, where we can create a budget with them, which they can reflect on, and a standard financial statement which they can use to resolve the issues themselves. We do have a lean towards empowering people where they're capable of doing so. So this is not often, but on occasion, we can stop with people at this stage because they've never taken a look at their finances before. It feeds into the sort of education around money that people are lacking in some areas. We move on to maximization of income. So this ties into benefits and things of that nature in order to make sure that we're getting people the maximum amount of money they need to resolve these debt issues as quickly as possible. That does also relate to steering towards other organisations that deal with finding employment and Helping Hands, and a number of the other Heart of Bucks that's been mentioned as well. As was mentioned, we are one of the referring parties that gets involved with that and the fantastic work that they're doing. And we do discuss debt options, all of them. So to the labour of many of our debt caseworkers, that's IVAs, debt management plans, DROs, bankruptcy. And a really brilliant venture that's happened with the council really quite recently is that we've in partnership with them, got a fund where we can actually pay for the fees around DROs, and in some cases, bankruptcy and IVA, in order to support our clients, because there's a cost to using these debt tools that often on a low income they can't cover. So if I could have the next slide, please. Because one thing I want to touch on is I briefly mentioned there about the empowerment model that we try and use with clients, where we give them advice and information, take some action on their behalf, but generally try and encourage them to resolve the issue themselves. However, there are instances where that's just not possible. That can be the client who's presenting having complex needs, or just the situation they're in being incredibly complicated. So this is when we would shift them to a more of a casework look at things. And it's the same entry points, but generally speaking, they're going through to the casework team after it's been identified. And this includes ongoing support with debt resolution tools. So we would apply for a DRO completely on their behalf and get that sent off and then help them out with it. And obviously the complaints letters and things of that nature that come along with it. The next slide, please. So additional money services. This is one of the programs that we've had rolling since we were a pre-merged organisation, and I think it's one of the ones we can be most proud of. It speaks to the long-term interventions that we can make. So this is the Money Matters project, which is funded by the National Lottery, and it's as it says there, a program delivering budgeting advice. It was typically set up in the first instance for school-age leavers, and it was also conducted in prisons where people were looking to be released back out to the community, because their knowledge of money and how they manage money in their new lives, whether they're leavers from school or prisons, was a vital intervention that we saw to ensure that the problems don't have to exist in the first place where possible, or at least if they do stumble into some money troubles, they have the tools at hand in order to be able to correct them. We have been working hard to produce video guides for this, and we're looking to roll them out via our website and probably through our partners as well, in order to just educate the general population on budgeting, paying bills. It's really easy to start teaching these things at an early age in particular, but they're really for any time of life, and can be used with all sorts of examples, such as with teenagers. It's quite handy to frame it as paying for a mobile phone contract and all the things that go along with that. And recently we've set up an internal referral system. So anyone who engages in debt work with us will receive a referral to the Money Matters project. They can take it up if they'd like to. We certainly hope that they will. And it ensures the long-term advice is with them so after the initial crisis, if you like, is resolved, they don't fall back into the same pattern, or the same issues don't crop up again in the future. Next slide, please. So general advice, I just very quickly, I'll leave this on the screen here for you to have a look at, or you can have a look at it later. But I just wanted to flag up that this is part of the scope of what we do, and it's the long-term solutions that we need, because these issues don't exist in isolation. This is the largest part of our service. It covers benefits, employment, housing, family, a little light touch on immigration, consumer, and employment is a key one here, because unpaid wages and people just not behaving properly in employment scenarios, usually the employers from the side that we see, can spiral into pretty serious instances of debt quite quickly. And one thing around access that I didn't include in the presentation, but I wanted to flag up, and that's just an awareness for all organisations. I think that there has been entirely new demographics needing this kind of debt help that have never really before. So there's obviously people fixed low incomes, it's very tricky for them. But what we have started to see as well is people who you would generally think of as sort of middle class, fairly high earners, who through the pandemic lost their jobs. They fell into a situation that they were completely unfamiliar with, would have had debts that they were servicing before in the past completely on their own, but are now in a completely fresh and new world that they don't understand. And they come to us with a different set of knowledge. These tend to be slightly more light touch clients, if you like, but it doesn't matter who you are. These things happen to all of us, and it's important that that advice is there for everyone and that door is open as possible. If I could have the next slide. And this is a key one. So Citizens Advice has quite a broad sort of range of issues that we can cover, which I hope everyone is at least now aware of, if they weren't before. But there are instances where we can't help. So the particularly tricky immigration issues is something that we're looking at as an organisation, because we want to do more, but it's tricky. And this is often tied to debt, because when someone has and it is from an immigrant background, say they have no recourse to public funds, It means it limits how much we can maximise their income, and it limits the options available to them. So this is an area we want to strengthen on, but where we can't, we will signpost or refer to other organisations or another citizen's advice where appropriate. And I did say that I'd flag up business debt here. So this is not something that we deal with internally. And that includes from debts through self-employment, because that's still a business debt, which often trips people up a little bit. But we do have other agencies who will signpost to about that. And I'm getting the wrap-up signal here, so if I could have the next slide. It's just a re-advertisement of our advice line, just to drive that point home that whoever you are, whatever the problem, give us a call. We'll work tirelessly inside our own organisation, but the Financial and Security Partnership that Jill set up and the fantastic work that she's doing to bring a number of people together to sort of enhance what we can do as a team, I think that's really going to be the backbone of the future of advice in Buckinghamshire. So really proud that our organisation is part of it, and very grateful for the invitation today. Thank you.
Craig, that was a fantastic presentation. Can I just nab you for one quick question?
Of course.
We've got a few questions that have popped up in the chat. Actually, I'm going to be cheeky and try and squeeze in two. So firstly, I just wondered if we could, there's a question about access to fuel vouchers. Oops, sorry, I think is that one. Would you be able to give any advice on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So normally these come through, they have to come through an organisation like ours with a referral. So if you simply, any of the access points that were advertised at the start, if you contact us on there, we'll ask a few questions. We are quite nosy, I have to say, because we do want to see if we can address all the problems that are going on. And if we detect that there's fuel vouchers for you, there's a number of them. They have different eligibility criteria. We'll find the one that's right for you and signpost you off in that direction or apply for it on your behalf.
Fantastic, thank you. And there was one final question, which was about prepaid meters, but actually I think we might take that one privately with Helping Hands, actually. Thank you, Craig. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
No problem, thank you.
Fantastic. We're going to move quickly on to our next speaker. We're going to be joined by Rob Sandals from Step Change, and it's going to be very much in the same theme as the last talk that we've received, talking about debt. So Rob, can I invite you to join us on stage, please? Hi, Rob.
Thanks, Sophie.
I'm gonna hand over to you and come off the stage now.
Fantastic. So yeah, good morning, everyone. I apologise. I'm slightly croaky. What I wanted to do today was just to run through a set of slides and talk to you about Step Change Debt Charity, and in particular how to spot the early signs of problem debt. It's a common theme. We understand from talking to our clients, they don't always understand that they have problem debt. So we're going to look at a few slides just to talk initially who Step Change are, and then we'll look at the early signs of problem debt, and we'll talk about the service as well. If we can do next slide, please. So a little bit about Step Change. We've been around for over 25 years now. Personally, I've been with the charity for 22 years. If we can go on to the next slide, please. So who are we? So the charity's been around since the mid-90s. We help people take back control of their problem debt and get them back in control of their finances. In 2019, we secured funding to help over 310,000 people in problem debt through early interventions, which was something that Jill was talking about earlier. Early intervention for us is key. The earlier we can intervene when somebody's in problem debt, the better the outcome normally. The service is delivered in two ways. It's evolved over time. What has happened when I started at the charity, we had a telephone service and nothing else. 12 years ago, we developed an online tool. And more recently, the two services have been joined up, so you can start your journey online and transfer to the phone if you need to, and you can start your journey on the telephone. and switch to online. So it's whatever your preference is. We've got access to the broadest range of debt solutions. So everything, anything you can imagine to do with debt advice and debt solutions, we've got covered in-house through a range of specialist teams. We've got a dedicated vulnerable client team that offer extra support to our most vulnerable clients. That team has had additional training from a range of specialist providers such as Mind, Rethink, Samaritans, Macmillan, Shelter, and lots of others. So we're not experts in all of those areas, but we have good peer-to-peer support for clients who might be struggling in those areas. We currently work with over 900 different partner organisations dealing with both secured and unsecured debt. We can have a look at the next slide, please. We're going to talk about our purpose. So we have a vision at the charity to create a society free from problem debt. Our mission is to provide free and impartial debt advice to those that need it and solutions for people struggling with problem debt. We also strive to influence public policy and private sector practice to prevent people falling into problem debt in the first place. In terms of values, we're highly committed to our clients. We want to work together and we want to make change happen. If we can have a look at the next slide, please. We're going to move on and look at some of the typical coping mechanisms demonstrated by somebody in financial difficulty, some of the early signs of problem debt. If we could do the next slide, please. So what happens when you fall into problem debt? You're not always conscious that there's a problem. Over a period of time, what will start to happen is you will find yourself cutting back on essential spending, perhaps to try and make money available to pay the debt that you've got. You'll start to use up savings or other assets if you have them. You'll be using up existing lines of credit. So if you have a credit card, you might be maximizing that credit card out. Continuous use of payday loans and things like that. You may find yourself constantly borrowing from lenders or short-term loans from family members or friends. And you eventually get to a point where your creditors are contacting you, but you're ignoring those letters and phone calls. So if any of this sounds familiar, these could be signs that you're starting to struggle and could do with getting some advice. If we move on next and have a look at some of the other early signs of problem debt on the next slide, please. So you'll often find yourself you'll be getting to the end of the third week or the start of the fourth week of the month, and you've got no money left in your bank account. You've got no contingency whatsoever for one-off costs. So if something goes wrong, car fails its MOT, for example, or a white good, one of your white goods breaks down, you've got no contingency whatsoever to go out and replace that item, or you don't have the £300 or £400 needed to get the car through the MOT. You've maxed out credit limits on any revolving credit that you might have. You're starting to miss or to make late payments on any credit that you've already got outstanding, and you find yourself cutting back on essentials like food, just to try and make ends meet and to get yourself through to the end of the month. In terms of getting advice is freely available. Our telephone service is available 8 till 8 Monday to Friday and 8 till 4 on a Saturday, and our online debt advice tool is available 24 hours a day. Online tends to be the way. That seems to be the preference for our clients in terms of popularity. 65% of new clients start to find their way to step change initially through our online debt advice tool. The other 35% still come through an alternative to the more traditional face-to-face advice service. We're massive advocates at the charity for face-to-face. We know that's important and that service continues to remain. This is just giving people an alternative to contact us either online through the website or through the free phone number. Everything we do for the client is completely free. There's no cost or charge. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So in terms of getting debt advice, what to do if you've spotted the signs of problem debt. If we move on to the next slide, the contact details will be on the next slide. So in terms of this gives you an idea of it. This gives some context to the size of the charity. So we, in terms of telephone and online debt advice, we're the UK's leading debt advice charity, helped over 650,000 people every year take back control of their finances and get back in control of their lives. Just to confirm, the support we offer is completely free, impartial and confidential. Every client receives personalised advice to get them back on track and help them deal with their debt. There are the details for our website. There's the free phone number. It's free from all landlines and it's free from all mobiles as well. I think that's the last slide. If anyone has any questions, I think timing wise, I've almost had my 10 minutes. I did a little practice run, so I knew we'll be quite close to time.
Oh, Rob, thank you so much. That was really helpful.
Apologies for the croakiness.
No worries at all. We're just so delighted to have you join us this morning. I think I personally really benefited from the debt, the sort of problem debt explainer slide. I think it's really helpful, even if it's not our own debt, if it's debt of friends and family or people in our lives. I think it's really helpful to have that slide to look through to see actually when is it tipping into becoming something that's an urgent problem that needs to be looked at.
Yeah,
so
that's a great point, and it can just spark a conversation amongst friends or family. If you start to notice some of these kind of signs can be quite subtle, but if you start to notice, it's maybe time to have a quiet word and say, oh, you seem to be struggling again this month. You're not even at the end of the month and you're already struggling. You've got no money to buy yourself a sandwich, or you're struggling just to put petrol in the car to get to work. So yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for that.
Thanks so much, Rob. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Fantastic. So we've had some really brilliant advice there thinking about debt. We're now going to move on to look at how we can protect ourselves from scams. And I'm really delighted to say we're going to be joined by Poi Ling Harper from Trading Standards. And I'm going to invite Poi to join us on the stage now.
Hello, thank you for having me. I can't see my presentation. Is that coming up?
It's just going to be added now. I'm going to hop off the stage and hand over to you.
Thank you. So my name is Poi Harper. I work for Buckinghamshire and Surrey Trading Standards. Here are my contact details, which I will also share at the end of the session. The reason being is that if you do realise that you do need support, either ask me during the breakout room, or if you want to contact me confidentially, here are my details. Can I have the next slide, please? So I work in the prevention team for Buckinghamshire and Surrey Trading Standards, and what we do is prevent scams by raising awareness. And the purpose of today is to find out what the latest scams are and how to safeguard yourself. We also safeguard vulnerable residents from scams, and this means to prevent them from being scammed by fitting a call blocker or giving them some more individual one-to-one advice. If you do find out that you have been scammed, we can also support you. We can try and help you get your money back with the bank, because there is recourse with that. We can also make sure that if you have given money to companies that are giving you, you've agreed to buy something or purchase a service and it's produced with their aggressive sales, we can make sure that they will stop doing it and stop contacting you, and help you with the banks to stop your direct debits. If Trading Standards is also a law enforcement agency, just like the police are, and so if you do find out that there has been your incident there are lines of inquiries and it can lead to a criminal investigation, we will help our investigations teams and support you through the whole investigation procedure. And that includes if you need to go to court to give evidence. And we do lots of partnership works with other housing associations, and in particular with Thames Valley Police. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so why is this important? Unfortunately, only about 5 to 10% of frauds are reported to Action Fraud and to the police. Therefore, it's a very underreported crime, insofar as even though a lot of people are concerned about burglaries, are concerned about robberies, things like, violence, you are much, much more likely to be a victim of a fraud. So just some statistics. So since last Christmas, about £15.4 million were lost, which is about £550 per victim. So that's just by online shopping during that Christmas period last year. In the last 3 months, just through WhatsApp scam alone, £50,000 has been lost, and £1.6 million have been lost due to online charity. And since January 2021, so just in the last year, £10 million have been lost in courier fraud. Scams is a criminal activity, okay? And fraud affects everyone, regardless of your age, your gender, your ethnicity. Everyone, a lot of people think that they are not vulnerable to scams. However, everyone is vulnerable to scams for whatever situation. And it's one of those things, one of the reasons why it is such an underreported crime is because people either don't realise they have been scammed, or they feel that sense of shame, that they realise that after they've given them money, they think, oh no, I should never have given the money. But I just want to put across to people that if you have been scammed, not to feel ashamed. It can happen to anyone and everyone, and to get support and to get advice from us. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so this is quite an overwhelming slide, and this is just the latest scams that are going on at the moment. Scammers will always change the type, their MO. They will always change the types of scams there are, but here are the most recent ones. So one of them are text messages claiming to be HSBC or claiming to be your bank. And what it's enticing you to do is panic and click on a hyperlink, which is not the link for the bank, but is a link for the scammer instead. Your bank will never send you a text message and ask you to click on a hyperlink. If in doubt, ring the bank. The other scam that's going about at the moment is basically an Nhs scam, whereby people are getting phone calls, emails, texts saying that they have to pay for a COVID vaccine, that they have to pay for their flu vaccine, they have to pay for a COVID pass, for their PCR tests and lateral flow tests. That is not the case at all. There has been an increased amount of doorstep traders who are ringing on, knocking on people's doors, claiming to do things like clear guttering. And once a person has agreed to the work, the trader will then ask for more and more money, and the amount of money that needs to be paid just escalates. This particularly targets our elderly residents and our vulnerable residents. And if that's the case with you, or you're concerned about any of your friends, your family, your neighbours, please contact us and we can help people out. We are also doing, because of Christmas, lots of people are doing online shopping, so they're waiting for deliveries. There are lots of messages that people are getting from text messages from scammers saying that they're the post office or DPD or Hermes. Again, don't ever click on the link. Go on the website and find and check your parcel. Always be in control. And as I say about scammers, always looking at what the latest things in fashion is concerned. There are lots of scams relating to the Netflix program called Squid Games. And that includes, things like Squid Game tokens, Squid Games merchandise. So whatever's in vogue at the moment, believe you and me, there'll be a scam related to it. So a few years ago, there was a scam relating to the Disney film Frozen, whereby people were buying counterfeit costumes. So another thing to be aware of, especially with Christmas coming along, is the selling of counterfeit alcohol, so fake booze. If it's too good to be true, it's too good. So if it is cheap, then always be aware of it. Always just buy alcohol from a legitimate trader. The reason being, fake booze can contain all sorts of chemicals and household goods that shouldn't be drunk. So, for example, antifreeze, ethanol, that can lead to blindness, and that can also lead to death. So next slide, please. So 5 main things to help you, prevent you from being defrauded. Never disclose your security details. Never give anyone who is legitimate will know your name, will know your address. So no one should be asking for your security details. Don't assume everyone is genuine. What scammers are very good at doing, because it's basically their job, are very good at convincing you into thinking that they are genuine. So don't assume they're genuine. Always hang up if they ring you. Ring that organisation from a different line, so maybe a mobile. And if you don't have a different phone, hang up and then leave it for an hour or so, and then use your phone, because a scammer can leave your phone line open. Never be rushed into a decision. I mean, I've been listening to other talks before about purchasing and buying things, and I completely agree with them. If you want to buy something, think. If you want to purchase a service, if you need a trader, think before you part with your money. Listen to your instincts. Always think about your gut. If it feels dodgy, it is dodgy. Sometimes you don't actually know why you think it's a bit dodgy, but just stop and think, and then wait a little while, and always stay in control. Never be rushed, never be panicked. You be the one to identify a trader. You be the one who calls the bank if there is some suspicious activity to your bank. Next slide, please. Okay, so we are aware that a lot of people do get a lot of nuisance calls on their landline. And again, this is really targeting people who are elderly, who seem to use their landline a lot. So we can install a free call blocker to that person's landline. And what it does is basically you can ring out just as normal, but and the device is programmed with your trusted callers, your trusted family and friends. When your family and friends ring you, that's perfectly fine. They get through to you as normal. Everybody else receives an answer phone message, and the legitimate callers are suppressed an extra digit. So therefore, if you're expecting a call from, the hospital or GP, people, health visitors who usually use a withheld number, they can still get through to you as normal. But the call blocker stops between about 85 to 95% of calls. Okay. If I can do the next slide, that would be great, and then that'll be it for me. Thank you. The other thing is basically the sticker packs, which is a summary of what to do, how to avoid getting scammed. If you do want one, or you do want a selection of them, then it's probably, Sophie, can they contact yourself, and then I can drop off a load of sticker packs to you, and we can send them out to people?
Definitely.
Okay?
Yeah, we can do that.
And if you have the last slide, which is my contact details, that would be great. Thank you. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you so much for such a useful presentation. I can see there's been some really good engagement in the chat, people really sort of sharing their experiences and echoing some of the scams that you've been raising awareness on, that they've seen them in their own lives. So such helpful content. Thank you so much.
That's all right. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, that takes us up to another break. So we've had another brilliant section jam-packed full of content. We'll see you guys back here at 12 o'clock, ready to move on to the section that is all focused around food. So definitely not one to be missed. We'll see you back live at 12. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I can't believe we're halfway through the event already. We've had so many fantastic speakers this morning, and we've got plenty more coming up this afternoon. I'm delighted to welcome this afternoon Mika Thorne, who is joining us from Paradigm Housing. Mika, are you able to join us on the stage, please?
Hello there. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm going to leave the stage now and hand over so you can start your presentation.
Thanks very much. Good afternoon, folks. Firstly, thank you for the opportunity to come along to this event and advise on who we are and what we're doing to support our customers at a particularly difficult time. My name is Micah Thorne. I'm the Antisocial Behaviour and Support Services Manager over at Paradigm Housing. Paradigm is a registered provider of social housing operating across 30 local authority areas and provides in excess of 1,500 homes. If you could click through, please. Thank you very much. And one more time. Thank you very much. A little under half of those homes fall under the Buckinghamshire local authority, with a good proportion of those in and around the old Chiltern Council area, the legacy area. If you can click through, please. We support our customers in a number of ways. Firstly, we have a number of regional housing teams within which our housing officers are based. Our housing officers offer support across a broad range of topics, including tenancy management, estate concerns, and safeguarding, to name a few. Our rent recovery officers are on hand to help our customers with managing their rent accounts, providing advice and guidance during periods of financial difficulty, and signposting to wider support where needed. And in addition to these, we have a small group of tenancy sustainment advisors. These form part of a specialist team in which I work to work with customers who may need additional support as a result of their personal circumstances. So, for example, a customer's physical or mental health issues may be making it difficult for them to manage their tenancy. It may be that a customer has accrued rent arrears, but is also trying to manage multiple debts and may require a greater level of support in circumstances such as these. And that's where our tenancy advisors are best placed to work with customers to support them. Our tenancy sustainment service takes referrals from other areas of our organisation and, in some instances, external partner agencies such as local authorities. So far, since April, our service has received in excess of 280 referrals, and our advisors have worked with customers, supporting them in a number of ways. Including assistance with completing benefits forms, liaising with benefit agencies on a customer's behalf, agreeing action plans in antisocial behaviour and hoarding cases, and making applications to charities for funding to assist with various customer needs. In every case, however, they also look at the underlying issues that may be contributing to the difficulty the customer finds themselves in. This way, the work we do can have a long-lasting impact, setting our customers on the right path and minimising the risk of tenancy failure, instead of just putting a sticking plaster really over the problems temporarily. The work we do to help support our customers often requires partnership working with specialist organisations. If you could just click through, please. We understand that these services in our communities are often under-resourced, which is why over the past few years we've committed ourselves to providing funding in key areas. So during the pandemic, we donated £20,000 to food banks in our areas of operation, including Chiltern, where we have quite a lot of our properties, as I said earlier on. As I'm sure you've seen in the news, there's more reliance on food banks these days, and that looks set to continue, unfortunately, as we head into the winter months. We also donated £10,000 to a number of domestic abuse charities, including Wickham and Aylesbury Women's Aid. Times of financial hardship often lead to an increase in reports of domestic abuse, and during the pandemic, a lot of funding was being diverted from local domestic abuse charities to kind of more central organisations. We felt it was important, therefore, that we assisted at a more local level. If you could click through, lovely, thank you. We also fund the Chiltern CAB, the P3 Hoarding Project, and the Hearts Mind Community Support Service, all providing supports in the Bucks region. Our partnership working with the CAB allows for the provision of specialist debt and money advice to our customers in Bucks. The CAB accept direct referrals from us, providing our customers with a named advisor who will work with them to find solutions to their financial problems. The part-time specialist at P3, again, upon direct referral from us, will provide support to our customers affected by hoarding disorder. So the aim is to reduce the environmental and fire risks, regain control of the home, and reduce risk of tenancy failure, improving quality of life. And P3 will also look to work with the individual to explore the underlying cause for hoarding behaviour, and that could be something such as deep-seated trauma or medical conditions. And lastly, the Hearts Mind Community Support Service. Now, you may be thinking, what does a Hertfordshire-based service have to do with a Buckinghamshire event? Despite the name, as part of our funding agreement, this service also provides support to our customers in the Old Chiltern local authority area. So upon referral, the Community Support Service will work with our customers, providing one-to-one support in the areas of mental health and well-being. As well as operating some internal funds around extreme hardship and moving into more suitable accommodation, we also have an in-depth knowledge of charitable funds operating within our stock footprint. This has enabled us to help customers by having energy debts written off, obtain funding for garden clearances, help with furnishing customers' homes, and more. And our advisors work with customers to make these applications on their behalf, maximising the chances of a successful outcome. We know it's an uncertain time and it's likely to be a difficult winter, and we want you to know that we are here to help. If you are a Paradigm customer struggling with your rent, having difficulties with your utility bills, or you're caught up in debts, please do reach out and talk to us. Our teams are in place to give you support and advice, minimising the impact of the current climate. And you can call us on 0300 303 1010, or if your preference for communication is along more technological lines, you can email us using the email address inquiries@paradigmhousing.co.uk. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry, Soph, I think you might be muted.
Sorry, I was so excited. I was just trying to say, it's incredible to see that the generous funding that Paradigm have awarded to those local charities. I can imagine that's made a world of difference to people in need, so it's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. Fab. Well, that brings another presentation to a close, and we're going to move on now to hear from Wickham Food Hub, and I'm delighted to welcome Mark Page to the stage, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the project. Hi, Mark. I'm going to hand over to you now.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Mark Page, and I am the marketing manager for Wickham Food Hub in High Wycombe. I've only been there about 3 months, and my main role is to let people know who we are, what we do, and how we help the community. So if I can have the next slide, please. So what are the aims of Wickham Food Hub? We've got an ethos within Wickham Food Hub. There's nobody in our community should go hungry. We were set up at the start of the first pandemic, nearly 2 years ago now, giving out free food from the parish church. We've moved on. We're now in the new premises in the Children's Centre in High Wycombe, but our ethos is still the same. Nobody should go hungry. And so we're determined to try and do our bit to make sure that we feed people and reduce the food waste. We think it's atrocious that so much food goes to waste when there are people hungry. How do we do that? So we collect residual food from all the local supermarkets, clean it, sort it, then redistribute it through our shops for people to buy. For a go on, just to explain what is residual food, this is not old food, bad food, out-of-date food. This is good quality food which a supermarket either has too much of, changes the brand, overstocked, or it could be something like a packet cornflakes where the outer package is damaged, so a shop can't sell it, so they will throw it away normally. We don't. We take that. The goods inside the box are still perfectly safe. It could be a tray of eggs, tray of 48 eggs, one egg broken, the shop can't sell it. They have to throw the lot away. We don't. We collect that from them. We resort, package it into boxes 6, and allow our customers to buy that problem. So I think you can see we're a very, very eco-friendly operation. We stop tons of good food going to waste every month. And we try to offer a sustainable alternative living for people that come into us. We are like a traditional shop. However, the products we sell at such a reduced price. And I'll go on to that a little bit more on the next slide. The food we sell, we always ensure is good quality, it's fresh food, it's nutritional food. We make that food available to everybody in our community. Even at the end of the day, if we can't sell that food, if we can't give that food away, we then donate anything that we can't give away to local farms as animal feed. So nothing goes to waste, or very, very, very little goes to waste. The main thing about us, and a slight difference between us and food banks do an amazing job, incredible service. We applaud them for what they do. The slight difference to us is to come to Wickham Food Hub, you don't need any referrals. There's no red tape. We are open to everybody, whether you're struggling financially or whether you just care for the earth. We are open to everybody. We're actually not a charity, but we are a CIC, which is a non-profit making company. Can I have the next slide, please? So how do we help the community? So we've come up with this concept of anybody can come into our shop and pick up a supermarket type shopping trolley, a shopping basket, sorry, and fill their baskets with anything that we've got on display. So this could be fresh fruit, it could be veg, it could be meat, it could be coffee, tea, cereals, frozen food, fresh food, dairy products, milk, you name it. Anything that we can get in our shop, people can come into our store, fill a basket for £3. If that £3 is not enough, or the basket's not enough, they're shopping for a bigger family, we'll offer them a second basket for another £2. So that £5 is equivalent to £50 to £60 worth of food if they were to go to a local supermarket. And it is just like a supermarket shopping experience. It's like a mini convenience store, if you like. What we found is, and through the period of time we've been there, is letting customers choose their own food gives them a little bit more dignity. It's, you know, they are shopping on a par with anybody else who's got £50, £100 in their pocket, the £3, £5 pocket in their pocket, they can buy the same food. We do have to limit some food, obviously, like meats. We can't let them fill a basket just of meat. It has to be a mixed basket. But, you know, we find that's a great way to do it. It's dignified food. So can I have the next slide, please? So I just want to give you some very quick stats about what we actually do and how many people we look after. Within our hub, we've got 26 freezers and 24 fridges. These are spread over nearly 3 floors, actually. And they are full of food, which has been cleaned and sorted. We serve around 500 customers a month through our shop and online. We offer an online service as well, which I'll come on to again later on. That equates to nearly 50 tonne of food per month from going to waste. repurposed and given back to people who need this food. We also give out between 400 and 500 what we call community bags to people. The photograph on the right-hand side is showing what that means. If people find themselves in a desperate situation where they've got no money, they cannot even afford £3 for a bag of food, we will give them a community bag. A community bag is one meal for one person for one day. Usually contains something like a Greggs sausage roll, a cake, something sweet, some fruit maybe, a bottle of water, anything we can get hold of that we can put in a bag. So we don't want people to become dependent on the food hub, but we're saying that if you cannot afford it, we can help you. We will never turn anyone away. I said we offer a click and collect and home deliveries, and this is something we're finding is really growing at the moment. There is some worry about COVID. People are a little bit scared still of shopping. So we offer a click and collect. You can go online, order the food and collect it from a service at the back of the shop, or you can go online and for a small fee, we'll actually deliver it direct to your home. So if you're struggling to get out, if you're home, housebound, whatever, disabled, whatever reason, we will deliver those bags of food to you. We supply somewhere around about 400 crates, 25 kilos of 25 kilo crates of food to other charities as well. So we give all our spare bread, rolls, cakes, sticky buns, whatever, to other organisations such as the YMCA, Salvation Army, WISE, Women Refuge, etc. So we just donate to them. We'd rather somebody in their community use it rather than, again, be thrown away. We actually operate with a team of nearly 100 volunteers now. These vary from drivers who go and pick up the food in the evenings, those who sort the food in the mornings, or those that actually sell the food for our shops. We've got warehouse staff, etc., plus only one employee, which is myself, part-time. So can I have the next slide, please? Who are we actually helping? And this is an interesting one. We think we're helping those who are under the radar. There are, I don't want to use working poor, but there are people out there who struggle, and it came up in some of the earlier conversations. People who are judging their finances coming in towards the end of the month. You know, what do I do this month? Do I pay this bill? Do I pay the rent? Or do I go and buy some food? So we're offering, say, £50, £60 worth of food for a few pounds. And that few pounds is actually a donation. If people can't afford, we will obviously look after them. We look after students with not much money. They can come in and get full nutritional food from us. We're looking after single mums. We're looking after some elderly people who come in, not got much finer pensions come in, and it's a happy shopping experience for them to come in and buy food, as though they would go into a supermarket, but a fraction of the cost. So next slide, please. We are associated with all the major food partnerships you'd expect: Fair Share, Navy, Stop Hunger, Sustain, and we're just currently just working some communications with Red Kite to come on board with Red Kite. But who actually supplies our food? And this is the incredible thing. We collect from every single supermarket every single night. We get it through Navy or one of the others, Fair Share, through the apps. We get a trigger which says, "Hello, this is Waitrose. We've got 2 crates of food. Would you like it?" And we go and collect those. So our volunteers go and collect it, bring it back to the hub. So we do every major supermarket you can think of: Tesco's, Lidl, Aldi, Morrison's, M&S, Waitrose, Booker Cash and Carry. The 2 unusual ones are Nando's. We get a trolley load of Nando every week. Interesting one, Nando's. Their stock is controlled by the head office. The local stores have no say whatsoever in how much chicken they get delivered every day. They have a commitment. They have to take it. If they can't cook and sell that chicken that day, they freeze it and give it to us so we can hand it out to people who come in our shop. Same with Greggs. We get about 4 trays of Greggs every single morning. Fantastic work they do for us. And we put those in the community bags. So people are getting really, really good quality food. Next slide, please. But we are more than just food. We also have a community bazaar at the side of the hub. This is where, you know, keeping with our ethos of reducing waste, we offer things like school uniforms, coats, jumpers, shirts, shoes, toys, bric-a-brac, and we try and keep everything to £3 or less. We also get new clothes. We have deals with people like Primark, end of season stock or last season's fashions. They will donate to us. So you can come to our shop for £2 or £3, get brand new items of clothing. We also hold several community events such as Winter Wonderland, the Wickham Santa, which goes around the local communities giving out toys to kids. And this is my passion, my little baby. I've just launched something called Tree Angels. We can look after people with food, and other organisations can help people with food. But we're saying this year, what about children? I don't want any children to miss out on Christmas this year. I don't want to go to school on, 2nd, 3rd of Jan and say, what did you get for Christmas? Oh, sorry, times are a bit tough this year. I didn't get anything. I've been collecting funds online, £10 fund, sponsor the bauble. Every bauble sponsored, we give a £10 toy to a child in need. And we've got referral partners who are telling us who those families are that need the toys. And Red Kite has actually just come on as one of our referral partners. And we hope to help at least 200 people. Last slide, please, and I'll be finished. So what's next for Wickham Food Hub? As I mentioned earlier, we're getting more and more demand for people asking for home deliveries, finding out our services, finding out what we do, but still can't get to us. So next year, we'll be doing some major fundraising to try and buy a second-hand multi-purpose van so that we can go out and deliver more of this fresh, frozen food to a wider area. At the moment, we can only look after HB 10, 11, 12 and 13, but with our own dedicated van, our own dedicated driver, we hope to be able to go further. Follow us on Facebook, Wickham Food Hub. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. We just had one quick question. I think you might have answered it at the end there, but somebody posted in the chat to say, sounds brilliant. Is it limited to residents of Wickham only? As the person who asked the question, their daughter lives in Chesham, would she be able to shop there?
Okay, we are open to anybody from anywhere to come and shop in store. We don't ask questions where you're from. You can come in. If you want home delivery, I say it's here, HB 10, 11, 12 or 13.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Mark.
Yes.
Wow, fantastic presentation there from Mark. A really exciting project that's helping people in Wickham. Our next speaker is from One Can Trust, and we're delighted to be joined by Graham. Graham, can I invite you to join us on the stage, please?
We get there.
Hi, Graham. I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you, Sophie, very much. My name is Graham Peart, and I'm a trustee of One Can Trust, which is the food bank that's been based in Wickham for the last 10 years. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about how it works, and if you are struggling, how to access the service. One Can provides emergency food parcels to anybody who is unable to buy food through lack of money. And if you are struggling to provide food for yourself and your family, we can help you now. There's no need, there's no cost to you. And many people are approaching us every week, and we get about 60 new referrals, and we deliver to over 200 homes every week. Next slide, please. And it is an emergency service. However, if you have got a long-term problem, we can actually support you for however long that you have got a problem. And we will try to help you to navigate your way out of that. Next slide, please. I'll show you if you can actually run the video. It's a 50-second video, which hopefully we can see. If we can't, then no, we'll move on to the next one then, please, to referrals. We haven't got the sound on that, Sophie. Skip this one. We'll go to the next one, please. Okay, we're there. Thank you. Now, in common with all organised food banks, we have a referral system. The reason for that is that if you have got to the point of struggling to provide food for yourself or your family, you're probably going to need some help from somebody else. It's not difficult to obtain a referral. You may well be in touch with any of the referrers that we have on the list here, or if you go on to the One Can website, you can see the list. But if you're unsure, just ring the One Can office on the Wickham number 512277, and we will resolve that for you very quickly and get a parcel to you. And our referral agencies are experts in their various fields, and particularly in regard to debt, tenancy management, mental health, welfare. And you can the first referral can be for up to 4 weeks. We will actually renew that for as long as you need the help. Now, just for comfort, our data protection is very strong. Very few people within our organisation know your address. Volunteers packing parcels don't know who they're packing for. It's very discreet. So there's no reason not to actually ask for the help. Next slide, please. And what we will do is to provide you with a parcel, which is usually for 5 days worth of supplies. We can supply a larger parcel if you are in extreme need, a 7-day parcel. And the parcel will be tailored to you for the number of people that's in your household and for all dietary requirements and allergies. And the parcel will include fresh fruit and vegetables, eggs and bread. However, we're not just a food bank. What actually happens is that as soon as we receive your referral, you will receive a phone call from one of our team to check on detailed requirements for your food parcel. You might want to request vegetarian, or if you've got babies, what the size of the nappies is, or what the baby milk variety is. But we can also offer other support. We do provide cookery lessons, cooking from a food parcel. We can signpost you to some of the other agencies on debt counselling, life skills, and we are also sometimes able to signpost clients to receive a grant which can help with the payment of a fuel bill or the children's shoes, or if your washing machine's broken. In one case, it was to get a car MOT'd, to get children to school and so on. So we will do all we can to point you in the right direction to help you to help yourself to navigate your way out of the situation you're in. Next slide, please. And since the start of the pandemic, all the food parcels have been delivered direct to your doorstep. And these are in private cars. We do have a van, but you won't see that outside your house. And typically the deliveries are sometime between 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock, Monday to Friday. And during the phone call, you will be advised which day your food parcels are going to arrive. So it's a very simple service. And I will say, if you are in need, then please make a phone call. Just call us, because there's no need to be in difficulty. A lot of people are struggling at the minute. We're supplying food for nearly 600 people every week. So we'll be delighted to hear from you if you've got a problem. What I'd like to do, just to finish, the next slide, please. There's a delightful book called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. I'm just holding it up. It'd be a lovely Christmas present. But I'm going to quote from this, if I may. And the discussion goes between all of the boy and the other animals. What is the bravest thing you've ever said? Asked the boy. Help, said the horse. When have you been at your strongest? Said the boy. When I've dared to show my weakness, said the horse. Asking for help isn't giving up, said the horse. It's refusing to give up. So if you're in trouble, you're experiencing difficulty, please make a phone call and we'll see what we can do to help you. Thank you.
Graham, thank you so much. That was absolutely wonderful. And the book that you've referenced is an absolutely beautiful book, isn't it? And that quote, it gave me goosebumps, I must say. Such a powerful statement to finish your presentation on. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Graham. Wow. I mean, I'm absolutely blown away by the content of the presentations we've seen so far today. And I'm delighted to say that we're not finished with this section just yet. We've got one final speaker in this section. We're delighted to be joined by Charmaine, who's joining me on the stage now. And Charmaine, are you ready to deliver?
I am, Sophie. Hello.
Fabulous. Right, I'm going to leave the stage to you, and I'll be hiding in the background. I'll see you in a minute.
Okay, thanks a lot. Good day to you, everyone. My name is Charmaine, and I'm Charmaine Fife, and I run a local company called Kapira. That's actually an Egyptian word for transformation. And the reason why I named it Kapira is because that's what we aim to do. After transforming my own life and my health through nutrition, I realized that health doesn't just encompass the physical health, it's so much more than that. And by taking control of my physical health and managing my physical health, I was able to transform my life. I wouldn't say that I'm where I need to be yet, but I'm still on a journey. And I started Kapira really because it was a surprise to me that we are not taught how to improve our health and our life through nutrition and through our food choices. I think a lot of us, we know about the issues with physical health and nutrition, but nutrition can actually help you in all different spectrums, and that's why I started the company. I realized that nutrition not only helps the physical body and any ailments that we have, but it also helps you emotionally, our interactions with other people and any anxieties that we may have of being around other people, our mental health, how we talk to ourselves. You know, are we overthinking things? Do we ponder on things longer than we need to? Nutrition has an important part to play in that. And of course, our financial health, the affordability of nutritious food. So after realizing that, I decided that I would help other people. If it helped me just making simple changes, I could also support other people to do that. I think that there's way too many people suffering in various areas of their lives, and they do influence each other. If you've got an issue with your physical health, if you have an illness, that can impact you emotionally, that can impact you mentally, and eventually impact you financially too. And we want to support people to understand how important it is to eat well, because if you're not eating well, you haven't got the energy to even tackle some of those other issues that you have. You haven't perhaps got the right vitamins and minerals in your body that can help you to deal with those problems, to help you be less anxious, to help your mind be more balanced and rested so that you're not overthinking. Food has such an important role to play in that. And when I realized that, I thought, it was like a eureka moment. I thought, if it can do so much for me, surely it can do so much for other people. So what we do is go around in the community and we support other people to make those changes. We give practical tips. It is mainly focused around food and nutrition, cooking skills, eating healthily, on a budget in particular. And we teach purely plant-based food because I realized that there was a lot of people that had an aversion to vegetables. And after following a plant-based diet myself, which is the final step that really helped me to live pain-free, I thought, let me show other people how to include tasty, plant-based, healthy, and on a budget plant-based foods. So we have been going around in the community for the past 6 years doing this. And I know that sometimes it's so difficult when you've got other issues going on to even contemplate eating healthily, because food has been looked at as a mode of survival, a gap filler in terms of hunger, or an emotional gap filler. And sometimes we'll cut back on food or we'll eat even more when we're stressed. But making sure that we're getting the right nutrients, eating a varied diet, even if we do have the odd treat here and there, well, I class it as a treat, but the odd food that we may not think as of healthy, it's about bringing back that balance. And even in stressful times, the choice of foods that we have is so important. Food can provide us with omega, zinc, magnesium, and all those help our mental health, help our brain, help our nerves, so we have less anxiety. So we can really help all areas of health and any health issues through food. And we also like to dispel the myth that it's expensive to eat healthy. Financially, there are so many things that you can do to eat healthy, whether it's choosing which supermarkets to go, because I noticed that supermarkets take it in turn to put their foods on offer. So I go around to different supermarkets when the food's on offer. There's also shopping when things have been reduced. And although fresh foods, when they're reduced, they may be going off that day, the following day. We teach people how to preserve those foods. We show them how to freeze them so that the life of that food is extended. There's so much that you can do through food to help your finances and to help you in more than just a physical way. So how do we do that? We share the message on social media. We put out information on our pages on Instagram, on Facebook. We make videos. I'm really passionate about preserving. So what I do is show people how to make preserves, how to make stocks from peelings, vegetable peelings and things like that, how to freeze foods well so that they last long, instead of buying frozen chips, how to buy a sack of potatoes, or even if it's a small bag of potatoes, and using it in various ways, and eventually before it goes off, freezing them, blanching them and freezing them, putting them into the freezer in small portions that can be used for a future date. So there's so many ways that you can save money when you're shopping, and also in reducing waste, that's also saving money. And we teach people how to do that within our classes. We do that on social media. So we have been funded by several companies and agencies throughout the years, and have run projects within hostels for people on low incomes. We've gone to other community groups and service providers and worked with their client group to help them understand how to eat healthy plant-based food on a budget. We have also been funded by Red Kite, and coincidentally, our course is also called Back on Track, and it's helping people, parents that have children who are fussy eaters, who have special educational needs and have textual issues, to actually learn about nutritious food and doing that on a budget, also weaning. And then we have a second project for people with health issues, because Wickham is one of the areas of Buckinghamshire that has the highest rate of obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. And we really aim to help people understand that it's so important to manage your food, your lifestyle, because these have such a huge contribution to your overall health. And like I said, it's not just physical, it's emotional, mental, and financial. So we partner with a lot of companies. We have a lot of projects running, and we're opening up a community kitchen so that members of the public can come to us and learn. So please get in contact with us. We have so much available to help people really understand. And it's important for everybody to understand that we all have within us the power to make those changes. And it's just small, simple changes that we need to do. And the best way to start is through looking after ourselves, through nutrition, how we feed ourselves, and self-care, because it brings self-awareness, it brings confidence. So thank you very much for asking me to come and talk today. I see Sophie's joined us. I don't know if there's any questions, but thank you for listening.
Oh, Charmaine, as always, it is such a pleasure to listen to you speak. There's so much exciting activity you're championing across Wickham and sort of other parts of Buckinghamshire. Such a joy to have you here. I was just going to ask, is there one top tip that you would leave people with for the Christmas period? Because I know that can be a time where people might overindulge, or we might feel the pressure to overindulge from family. Any top tips, any last top tips from you?
I would say, especially because it's been quite a hard period recently, I say to enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself, but there's always balance to bring into it. And empty out your freezer before Christmas, because we always have plenty of leftovers, and put those leftovers into the freezer, because that can help you through the next even month. You know, if you're freezing a turkey carcass, if you eat meat, that can help you for a few months, for another month actually, at least, by using it in different ways. So yeah, empty out that freezer and make the most of all the food that you have enjoyed, but extend the life instead of throwing it away.
That is a fantastic piece of advice. I'm definitely going to be looking at my freezer this evening, because I'm thinking already there's some things in there I can make some space with. Fantastic, Charmaine. Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure to have you on the platform. Thank you.
Thank you for asking. Thanks, bye.